All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Now, we are going to talk about a bunch of things because it's Sunday and I'm in a relaxed mood, but there's like a lot of stuff going on. So we'll talk about a lot of it, right? I want to talk about Paulo Costa and Marvin Vettori, their fight, which was incredible. I mean, I got to be honest. So I missed a bunch of chatter online. I basically haven't seen almost any of it because I couldn't watch the fight when it was live. I had to wait till about an hour and a half afterwards to watch it. And so I very intentionally was like staying all the way off MMA media. I kind of knew who was going to win only because I glanced at my phone and I saw a Twitter notification and it was Ali Abdelaziz and I saw him say something that I could tell was like positive. That's it. I quickly looked away, but I was like, man, if Ali's in a good mood, that probably means Vettori won. But nonetheless, what an epic fight, man. What an absolutely epic fight. And so we'll talk about that. I want to talk about Tony Ferguson, Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, because there seems to be these circling of these three. And I think that those two of those guys are going to fight. I mean, basically that's my prediction. And I think I know who it's going to be, and I'll tell you exactly why. And yeah, I mean, we'll go from there. I mean, I'm sure I'll think of some other stuff while we're talking, but if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. I'm not sure when I'm going to get this up because I am currently wiping my computer. Long story, not very interesting. Yeah, so basically, you know, there's nothing really to recap here when we talk about what happened with Paulo Costa this week, right? Like you go into a fight like that where a guy had that much trouble where it's like, wait, how much do you weigh? It's like, it literally is like as if he forgot that weighing in is part of this process. You know, like that's seriously how it looked where you're like, is there some like language barrier thing here? Does he not realize how important it is to make weight? Because he seems like he's just like, yeah, I weigh 295 pounds. Did I say 185? Is that what I've been fighting at my whole career? I don't know. I forgot. I've just been focusing on training. And that what's hilarious about that was like, because of how he behaved about his weight, everyone was just like, there's no way this guy's gonna have gas for 5 rounds. He must have just been lazy, which actually makes the whole thing so much weirder. Because he fought so well for 5 straight rounds that you're like, what the hell was this guy doing? Like seriously, like what was he? He just was like, I'm just gonna get myself in absolutely amazing shape. I'm gonna be sharp. I'm gonna be hard. I'm gonna have 5 rounds. I'll just completely forget about the whole like weight thing. Like I can't do all this stuff at once, dude. You can't expect me to both get sharp on my feet, practice my kicks, my punches, my footwork, and also all my ground game. You know, do all the mental stuff, and then also worry about my weight. I mean, come on, dude. What? Like, come on. It's just bizarre because he fought so well and totally redeemed himself as far as I'm concerned. I mean, for a guy who lost, I will say Paulo Costa completely redeemed himself because that was an epic fight. Like, that was an incredible fight. Any other guy gets hit with some of those shots that Vettori got hit with, they're donezo. And I'm not just talking about the head kick, dude. Like, those body kicks, oh my God. That's one of those things, like, I think another angle I like to take on this channel, because I am not a professional fighter, nor was I ever, but I have been kicked, punched, etc. many, many times, is I can talk about it from the perspective of someone who knows what they're looking at. But, like, I'll tell you the point that I mean. I don't think a lot of regular folks understand how much you have to condition your body to be able to absorb body kicks like that. And I'm not talking about absorb as many as he took. I'm talking about absorb one of them. Dude, if Paulo Costa hit a regular person with one of those body kicks that wrapped around their torso, dude, they would crumble. And I'm talking about a 200-pound person. Like most just regular 200-pound people, you know, who tuck here, it sneaks under the elbow and just gets them right in the ribs. I mean, you know, you're in there with a trained killer, like you're going to do your best. I mean, you have to defend yourself. But I just can't, God, you just take for granted. It's like, oh, it's just a body kick. Like, he's fine because it's Marvin Vettori and his body is made out of granite because he's trained and prepared his body to be made out of granite and to be able to absorb. But even a pro fighter, I mean, like, dude, he took so many shots. Like the kicks to the body, kicks to the leg, those are the things that where I just cringe, where it's like, oh God. They just hurt different. They hurt different. Getting kicked in the ribs hurts more than getting kicked in the head. Like, you know, you're not gonna get your equilibrium rattled by getting kicked in the rib. It just hurts more. And getting kicked in the leg hurts more. It just hurts. And And man, Paulo Costa's he snaps that right kick out of nowhere, and it's so fast. And you're gonna get conditioned to blocking your torso because it hurts too much. Like you're gonna take 2-3 shots, and he's so good at wrapping it right under the elbow where he's, you can only, it's like, you're here, but like you can't physically, literally you cannot physically be blocking your head and all the way down to your hip without seriously damaging your, like you just can't do it. Like you have to make a commitment one way or the other. Like, is he going to the head or is he going to the body? Now you can kind of do it at the last second, but like you're gonna get conditioned to go into the body when he's hurting you like that. That's why Vettori ate that head kick, dude. Like, because he hurt him to the body, and he's like, man, I don't want to eat another one of those. What? Shin to the fucking temple, dude. I can't believe he ate that kick, man. I cannot believe he ate that kick. That's so crazy. You guys understand what it feels like to get hit with it? I mean, actually, matter of fact, I'm gonna say I have never been hit with a kick that hard to my head. I will say almost certainly. But when you do get kicked, right, or punched, when you think it's going somewhere else and it hits you upside your head, it's like, a lot of, what it feels like when you stand up fast and you hit your head like on the top of, like an open cupboard, you stand up fast and it smashes your head and it surprises you. That's what it's like, except much more forceful. So I was very impressed with both guys. And now obviously Marvin Vettori, he's the hero of the night. He's actually getting great in press conferences too, man. Like he really is, dude. He's like, I like he's throwing on a suit. He's wearing sunglasses. He's talking shit. Yes. Good job, Marvin Vettori. Like you don't need to be like a natural on the mic to adopt a persona that's going to be better at selling and promoting your fights than just doing nothing. I mean, look, and like I realize I pick on Leon Edwards all the time right now, but in all honesty, that should be taken as a compliment. Like if Leon actually ever saw my content and was like, why is he always picking on me? Take it as a compliment. Because what I'm doing is I'm using you as the example of someone who is such an exceptional fighter. Like just absolutely exceptional as a fighter and can't build hype because this is the part of the game that's lacking. And it's obvious it's not part of his personality. But like I was watching Kamaru Usman and DC, they did an interview which I highly encourage that you guys watch. Cormier and Usman did an interview the other day. It was on DC's channel. And Usman was just like, he feels bad for Leon. He's like, but dude, he's like, you got to understand you're in a partnership with the UFC. Like, you have to promote yourself. It's basically, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but he was like, you can't strictly rely on the UFC to do your promotions for you. Like, that's part of your job. Which is exactly right. Like that's exactly 100% right. 100%. And, I have another friend in the UFC like that. And I asked him recently, I'm like, do you have your speech ready for your post fight? And they're like, I'm still working on it, but it's getting there. Because, this is a pro, like this is a stone professional. Like it's, without getting into the weeds, like they're not fighting tomorrow, dude. You know what I mean? Like they're not fighting tomorrow, and they're preparing it's getting there as if they're writing a speech that they're going to deliver as a TED Talk, because it is more important than that, or at least equally important to your career. What you say into the microphone is literally equally important to like if you were an intellectual and you were going to give a TED Talk. Like you should be practicing it like that. It's your moment in the sun. It is absolutely critical, And another fighter in the UFC, whose team I was talking to, I was like, so if you think about this situation, if it goes like this is the way you have to handle it, because I actually can't get into that particular one without making it very obvious who I'm talking about and then also potentially nuking that strategy. But anyway, I'm just saying that like that stuff is of critical importance and Vettori is crushing it, dude. Like he's just crushing it. He's crushing it. So yeah, Paulo Costa, I heard Dana say he's not, like he's going back down to 205. Like, I'm sorry, staying at 205. And that's fine. Dude, it's always weird when you see a guy fight and look excellent at a certain weight when he's actually fighting a guy who fights at the, at the weight class under. Like when, Conor blitzkrieged cowboy at 170. It's not like anybody seriously was like, oh, dude, well, he can make a run at 170. Or at least not anyone who actually understands what they're looking at. Like, he beat a 55 fighter without cutting weight. Like, do you think that means he can beat Kamaru Usman? I do not agree with that. Speaking of Conor McGregor, this is actually really interesting. As a Sunday bonus, someone, this is ridiculous. It's gonna sound, all this stuff's gonna sound totally made up because I'm like, oh, I can't tell you this or that. But like someone else who specifically told me not to say their name on camera said that they had heard rumblings that I actually don't think that this was like necessarily validated with his team, but they had heard speculation that they thought made sense to him. They're all, just don't say my name on the channel. Let me actually look if I still have this up on my computer, on my thing, because I looked up. Yep, I do. So they said that as far as Conor's behavior, that the kind of like rumor mill in the fighter community is that he's probably on something like methylprednisolone, which is like a really heavy type of prednisone, to make sure that his body doesn't reject, his shin, his like, whatever foreign thing that they put into his body for his shin. And so like when you read about the potential adverse reactions, there's all this stuff with like the central nervous system, psychic adverse effects associated with like, there's all this stuff about like people can lose their shit. Like people can straight up lose their shit when they're on this. It's like increased intracranial pressure, convulsions, vertigo, headache. Like it's all this stuff that literally, like when you actually read it, you're like, okay, this actually would make sense why he's losing his shit. I probably should do another video about this actually. But I think I've talked enough about Conor. So anyway, but yeah, I don't even remember what my point was when I got into that. So let's just move right along to Conor, Ferguson, and Nate Diaz, because, that's a really interesting situation because those three guys are all stars, some more than others. They're all coming off multiple losses. And the UFC definitely wants to make sure that they always get huge fights out of each of them. And in addition to that, that they set up their most important person to continue to make money for the company, which is Conor, right? So I would say that the number one priority for them right now, when it comes to any of those guys, is going to be making sure Conor wins his next fight. That's plain and simple. And I think their number one priority with Nate is making sure that they continue to use that asset, which is Nate, that they only have under contract for one more fight, to generate revenue for the company. And the truth is, if the UFC was down to co-promote a boxing match between Nate and Jake Paul, that would generate so much dough, it would be crazy. And that's probably their best play. I mean, and I certainly would want that for Nate, right? Like Nate, that make the most money in that situation. UFC would probably make the most money in that situation, just because like you have to give Nate meaningful guys. And I know he wants Vincent Luque, but I don't think that's a great fight for him, just because Luque is not a super huge name. It's like the risk that Nate takes as far as the matchup versus how much Luque brings to the table doesn't really match up for me. You know what I mean? Like Luque is a huge risk as a fighter. He's a killing machine, but he doesn't bring this huge. It's not like he's a huge draw it's not like it's like Masvidal and Diaz. You know what I mean? Like the Leon Edwards, and it's kind of the same thing as the Leon Edwards thing, honestly, where Nate is trying to become a contender. I mean, Nate's trying to be a contender. That's what, because that's why he wanted the Leon Edwards fight, because if he could beat Leon, he could justify getting in line for a title shot. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Nate Diaz thing is a conundrum. It really is. Tony, and I said this months ago, and I am a huge Tony Ferguson fan, and I'm not saying this to be disrespectful. As a matter of fact, before I even say this, I will say this. I've always said that I think Tony Ferguson is basically equivalent to if someone went in a time machine and they went back to like 1411 and they went to like an Aztec tribe or like, a Mayan tribe, and they were like, hey, who's the greatest warrior in this country? You know, like they went through like all of Mexico and they were like, who's the number one champion? And they like pulled him out and he was literally like, comes out like with like a spear and a you know, a bunch of heads on a stick. And they were like, that guy. And it was like Tony like, oh, hi. Does someone want to die? Feed me food or feed me a lady. Because that's all I do. Kill, fuck, eat. That's it. And they convinced him. They're like, listen, we've got a better offer for you. We're going to take you to 2014 and we're going to let you get into a cage and we're going to see how you do against future fighters. We'll teach you how to speak English. We'll make you like semi-normal for the time and, you know, we'll let you go. Like that's Tony is as close to that as you're ever going to get. He's the number one Mayan killing champion in Mexico in 1400s. But you know, age is undefeated, time is undefeated, and I think the UFC is smart enough to realize Tony's not going to make another run. And so what they can get out of Tony right now is they can get him one more big fight with someone who they want to win, right? And I think that's why, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's going to be Conor versus Tony, is what I think. I think it'll be Conor versus Tony Ferguson. I think Conor will win, and then you would think Conor will win. I mean, because Tony Ferguson ain't fucking Dustin Poirier, man. Dustin Poirier is probably the number one 155 pounder in the world, at least right now. And Tony is not, right? Like, Tony's always gotten hit, right? Now, Conor's power has not translated to 155 like it was at 145. At 45, his left was a piston that no one could absorb. Like, you got hit with that thing, you're fucking done, dude. At 55, that hasn't necessarily been the case. I don't know if it's because he kind of changed the way that he does throw punches differently. I mean, that's just, it is. He does. Like, ever since in the Eddie Alvarez fight, he still was doing that fucking ball at the end of a chain whip. Whap! Like that, like where it was so long and he snapped and then he started boxing and he tightened up, you know, faster, more crisp. But I actually think that has more to do with his power than, you know, just fighting 10 pounds heavier. Like 10 pounds heavier, that's really, it's not that much, dude. Like 45 to 55, it's not, I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's not enough to take a guy who is, you know, a punch from, you know, knocking you into the fucking next month to like, you can eat 50 of his punches. I mean, I really think it's Conor now it's about boxing. He's crisp, he's pure, he's going to hit you more, but that just generated power that he used to have with his left is diminished a little bit. But I think it's just a matter of technique. But anywho, so that's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be Conor and Tony, and I think Conor will win. But again, that's if Conor, like, who the fuck knows, actually? What am I talking about? I gotta be honest. Like, I was just thinking about the Conor that went in to fight Dustin Poirier. Since then, he's drank a lot of booze, punched a lot of people, potentially been on methylprednisone, and lost his goddamn mind. So, who knows? I mean, if the guy can get his shit together, train, and, you know, be serious about fighting, then that. But I don't think Conor's ever really not been serious about fighting. It's just, anyway. That's what I got. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Peace.